Hello and welcome. Focusrite PLC is an audio products business based in High Wycombe in England. The Focusrite Group trades under 8 brands and manufactures digital audio processing hardware and software for use in professional and home recording studios. Mark has reviewed this stock before in a previous podcast episode, but he has recently added to his holding. To find out why, and to see if his opinion of Focusrite has changed in any way, stay tuned to this, episode 50 of The Desert Island Investor. This episode of the podcast is generously hosted by Progressive Equity Research. Visit their website at progressive-research.com. Good afternoon, Mark.
Good afternoon, Paul.
Okay, today we are discussing a stock that you have quite recently added to, which is Focusrite, ticker symbol TUNE. Now, we last covered this back in October 2023, and interestingly, it has been the most popular stock review episode that we've ever done. So, Mark, as always, let's start off with those base numbers, please.
Yeah, it's got a yield of 1.5, a PE of 18.1, and a market cap of 165 million, and that's based on the share price today of £2.80.
Right, so any thoughts on why that podcast episode was so popular? I mean, after all, it's not exactly the biggest of companies.
Well, you and I continue to be surprised about what works and what doesn't. Sometimes it's a combination of factors, the market cap and therefore a larger investor base, a recognisable company, perhaps a lack of coverage elsewhere. In this case, it may be because it's a fun product. They manufacture something that people often use in their leisure time, be that musicians or podcasters like us. They do music hardware, they do software. In previous episodes, we've discussed concrete leveling machines, supermarkets, food manufacturers, laundry machines, quality testing, ventilation, flooring, kettle thermostats, disinfectant. They hardly set the pulse racing. Let's picture Gerald. He works as an actuary at the same desk he's worked at for 25 years. He takes the same commute every day, and inside he's dying. But when he gets home to his spare bedroom that he calls his studio and picks up his guitar, he becomes Eric Clapton. There are a lot of professional musicians, those who play in local bands, hobbyists, and those who record just for their own consumption.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there are podcasters like us who often use audio interfaces for multiple microphone setups in a studio.
Yes, the MSM, the mainstream media, has changed. It's legacy media, really. I remember when we just had 3 TV channels and they all had mega audiences. The Morecambe and Wise Christmas special, can't remember the exact year, but that had 28 million. And we'll not see that again. How we consume entertainment or information is heavily fragmented. It's a more niche world. People... we're in a niche, but the people that like us seem to really like us on the whole, and what we offer is less fettered and beige.
Now, in the previous episode about Focusrite, you confessed that this stock was one of those at the foot of your portfolio. I remember you saying that if you do not add to it at some point reasonably soon, then perhaps it was time for it to go. So where does it stand now?
I added in June at £2.21.89. We'll call that £2.22. It's in position 19 of 31 and accounts for 1.3% of the portfolio.
So why add to it now?
I thought the results the previous day were encouraging, so the business itself. But as I've pointed out before, portfolio management. I have 31 holdings, but it's heavily weighted towards the top. The top 10 holdings account for 73%. The top 15, 86%, the top 20, 94%. In essence, that is the portfolio. There is a long tail. I'm losing Intertech to a takeover. That's number 14. And Zytronic to a solvent liquidation. That's near the bottom of the portfolio. You can see that it would only further concentrate the portfolio. I was therefore looking at the nether regions to see if any could be fleshed out, and of course looked outside the portfolio. However, what really was a buy sign was the following day the incoming chair, Ian Berkshire, purchased 87,280 shares at £2. That's not penny numbers. That, together with the results, was enough for me to decide to add. Directors rarely commit at that level without good reason.
Just for clarity, Ian paid £2 and you only got in at £2.22. So that's 11% you've lost by not buying straight after the results?
I haven't lost anything. There's a difference between losing money and not making money. The share responded, I would suggest, directly down to Ian Berkshire buying in such depth. This was material information after and on top of results. In my experience, directors do not buy on that scale for just an 11% upside. Just because you miss out at the foot of the graph, it does not mean there's no further upside to come. The shares were trading at £2.80. That's 26% upside on my £2.22. You can look at this two ways. You can rue not buying at £2 or get on board at a later train stop and hopefully enjoy the rest of the journey. I'm more than pleased at getting in at £2.22 than at not getting in at £2. You can have a glass half empty, a glass half full, or no glass at all.
Now, a report is a heavy document, but you also watched Focusrite do a presentation on the Investor Meets platform. So can you tell me what you heard in that presentation that encouraged you?
The big thing for me is that they'll be sourcing their own proprietary chips. Previously, these were off the peg, if you will, and heavily over-specced. These will be coming down the line in future years and will save them approximately $1 per chip. And some devices have 2 or 3 chips and may require fewer. To put that in perspective, Focusrite sell approximately 500,000 Scarlets per year.
Now, that's a lot of dollars, but it is a never-ending race to stay ahead of the pack.
Yes, that will all drop down to the bottom line, but I suppose there is nothing to stop others doing the same with their chips, either already or in the future, and therefore thrashing it out on price. In the last year, Focusrite have introduced 38 new products and 66 product updates. They've just got to keep pedaling. It's the type of business where you are forever having to come up with ideas and improvements. And once you bring out a new product, it has a limited runway. This consumes money in R&D and has problems with slow-moving and obsolete stock at certain points. Probably the product I'm most loyal to is Coleman's Mustard. Other than a change in bottle shape, a squeezy bottle, or a different font on the label, nothing seems to change. There are some products where we always want them to change and others where we wish they would just stay as they are. You said that previously about Guinness, Paul.
Yes, I did. I don't really mind what happens to Guinness, to be honest with you. In respect to the fact it was better. Joe, you did raise an eyebrow at a figure that is very commonly trotted out regardless of the sector.
Yes, the size of the market. It's given us 6.3 billion. It's a big number. To be fair, it is a relevant number to quote. It gives an idea of the potential and the scalability, but it's generally given us as a big number to get to the mouth watering. It could be said it doesn't really mean a lot. According to Forbes, Paul, you and I are part of a $9.2 billion podcast industry.
Yeah, I keep telling people that. I want to try and impress them at the bar. So what is Focusrite's share of that industry?
Well, just a word on their last financial year. Their year was actually 18 months as they've changed the year end from August to February. It's not uncommon. It just means that you're waiting a particularly long time over a year for clarity of the business. In new money, the 12 months to February 2026, the revenue was 164.6 million. This was split between content creation with 118.5 million and audio reproduction with 46.2 million. That's a 72%, 28% business split.
And which is the most profitable arm?
In terms of gross margin, there's hardly anything in it. The combined gross margin is 45.1%, and this is made up by content creation at 45.9% and audio reproduction at 43.1%.
Now, you increasingly like earnings outside of the UK. So where are those revenues from for Focusrite?
In the report, the numbers are split between the two arms, but I've soldered them together. The Americas, 40.4%, Europe, Middle East and Africa, 42.3%, and Asia Pacific, 17.3%. This gives really limited visibility. There's some disparate economies cobbled together in these shorthand groupings. Switzerland and Somalia are both in EMEA. There's just been a little remodeling on the previous year on territories. Latin America is now bundled into the Americas, and Asia Pacific replaces what was the rest of the world.
And I believe there's one country in particular that they outlined as encouraging, which was Japan.
Instead of going through a distributor, they've now have their own boots on the ground, and sales are now above what they were in those peak COVID years, particularly 2021, when people were under house arrest and looking to amuse themselves. Japan is actually the second largest market in the world in terms of recorded music and musical instruments. Now, this is something you have an interest in, Paul, as I know that oddly you're interested in the music scene in Japan.
I am, yes. I'm a big fan of contemporary Japanese music. Not J-pop as such, but artists like Lila Sikuta and Monon Cool and Yuka Ueno, Miele. Well, a dozen or more that I have difficulty pronouncing the names, and I'm sure you've never heard of. But I think Japanese. I think Japanese is a beautiful sounding language, which is even more beautiful when it's been sung by a beautiful Japanese woman.
Okay.
And I don't speak Japanese, but the vocals are just like another musical instrument, so I enjoy the songs, even though I have no idea what they're singing about. I guess it's a bit like appreciating an opera sung in Italian, even though you don't speak Italian.
Yeah, well, there is that. Just on music, do you know which country plays the most musical instruments per capita? Who are the most musical?
I have no idea.
It's Sweden with 23%.
Wow.
Yeah, they're the most. They know how to play more musical instruments than anybody else.
Well, next time I'm at the bar telling people I'm part of a multi-billion-dollar podcast industry, I'll just throw that fact in just to impress them. But in the meantime, getting back to Focusrite, when you look at the graph of their share history on Yahoo Finance, it features a very prominent peak in 2021. So it looks like COVID was very good for them.
Yeah, they had a pandemic boom. We mentioned that share price on the 1st of September 2021. It stood at £18.30. There's been a lot of buying forward, robbing future years' sales. Therefore, forward trading is manipulated and takes some time to level out to see what the long-term flight path of this business is. And it must have made ordering of product very difficult to adjust, as they just don't know what the normal times are going to be and running rates.
So £18.30. I mean, should you perhaps not have got out and then bought back at today's rates?
Sounds simple, Paul, doesn't it? But buy low and sell high is a difficult, if not impossible, skill to do consistently. My modus operandi that has served me well is to buy and hold for long periods. And when the returns of the portfolio constituents are pooled, I've generally had a good life. Besides, this was a very small holding, so that growth did not really move the dial that much. If it had been a top holding, it would have been another matter. If I sell, I have to learn about another business. And when shares shoot higher, you never know how much is left in the tank.
Focusrite has historically been very acquisitive. So what is debt looking like? I mean, that can be a burden.
It's very manageable. Focusrite generates good cash and rapidly run down its debt. In the last year, the debt dropped by 9.3 to 8.6 million.
And of course, all businesses have threats. What about theirs?
There's always no end of threats. There's known knowns and known unknowns. There's always competition, there's tariffs, supply chains. COVID and the Strait of Hormuz have shown this. Then there's what will gravitate to the cloud, giving away some trade secrets. We are not today in your studio, facing one another, overlooking that garden of yours. We're doing it remotely. There's no leads and wires and boxes. So where can this go? It is discretionary spending. If money is tight, with people drawing their horns. On the other hand, it's a passion buy. Will people find the money to fuel their passion and cut back on something else? I don't know. In a way, it's a little bit like another stellar stock, Games Workshop. I don't know if you're not familiar with them, Paul. Games Workshop.
A bit of a scandal with Games Workshop, wasn't it? If I remember rightly.
No, I haven't heard about that. But they produce.
Oh no, I'm thinking of GameStop. Sorry.
Oh right, no, this is Games Workshop.
Wrong one.
Yeah, but they make these little figurines that people recreate battles, I think, and things like that. And that seems to work with people who are very, very passionate of putting their money into this hobby that they've got. So hopefully, Focusrite could do just as well as Games Workshop. But the biggest threat is my understanding of a business like this. It's not in my natural. I think the in word now is wheelhouse. Obviously, I'll try and keep abreast, but there are easier businesses for me to understand. I doubt it'll be a core holding, just really due to my own shortcomings.
And lastly, you would like to mention a couple of milestones.
Yes, Paul. The first one is that I've turned 60. So I'm a diamond geezer now, and you have actually presented me with a gift. I wonder what this can be. I've got a good idea. It's round and it's hard, and there we go. So I'll rip it open. Oh look, it's a coconut. Another one. So
I thought you liked coconuts.
Yes, yeah. Well, just they can get a little bit samey, Paul. But thanks very much. I do appreciate that. I'm now. We're both in our 60s now, Paul, but also that we have exceeded we've now achieved 1,000 subscribers. We've exceeded 1,000, and we're on the kind of moonshot now. Nothing's going to stop us. And I'd just like to say, from both of us, thanks to everybody who's just taken the trouble to click a button and subscribe. And for those who consume our material and they don't, if you can, just extend to that and subscribe. It really does help us and encourage us to go on and on.
And you do go on and on, that's for sure. So. Right, okay, so if that's it, thank you very much indeed, Mark, for that review of Focusrite. Well, that's all for this episode. We hope that you enjoyed it. Please remember the content is for information only and it is not financial advice. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.